Hello there and a very warm welcome. You're watching WION World is One News with me, Molly Gambhir. Starting off with the latest that's coming in on the Las Vegas attack. Now, the police say at least 50 people have died and more than 400 have been hurt after the mass shooting in the United States. This took place on Sunday night at the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel at a country music festival where around 22,000 concert goers were in attendance. It is one of the deadliest shootings in U.S. history after last year's massacre at an Orlando nightclub. Investigators are not yet calling this as a terror attack. U.S. President Donald Trump tweeted expressing his grief over the killing, and I'm quoting here, "My warmest condolences and sympathies to the victims and families of the terrible Las Vegas shooting. God bless you," unquote. Police say on Sunday night the suspect, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, fired shots from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel. Paddock opened fire and hurt hundreds of others at a country music festival before police shot and killed him. Thousands of people panicked and fled the scene, in some cases trampling others. We are expecting U.S. President Donald Trump to give out a statement in just a few moments from now. As we await that, also getting you further updates on the Las Vegas attack. Now, police say that the suspect is not connected with any militant group. Police have found numerous firearms in his room and say that he is from Las Vegas. Authorities believe that the suspect, Paddock's roommate, Marlo Danley, is also being questioned. That's the latest that we have at this point. And I've also located the two cars that belonged to the suspect. Police have not released the victim's identity, but say that one off-duty police officer is also among the dead. Many casinos locked their doors during the active shooting. We are just moments away from U.S. President Donald Trump giving out a statement on the Las Vegas shooting. This incident happened on the final night of the three-day Route 91 Harvest Festival with top acts including Jason Aldean. Witnesses say the shooting happened as the last few performances were being held. The hotel is near the McCarran International Airport, which temporarily suspended flights because of the shooting. Nearby freeways and roads are now back open. Police still do not have a motive and not release the victim's information either. Now, Las Vegas police saying at least 50.
I do not know yet, but we are looking in excess of 50 individuals dead and over 200 individuals injured at this point. I am going to provide you his identity at this point. His name is Stephen Paddock. Obviously, this is a tragic incident and one that we've never experienced in this valley. So what we're going to try to do is the best we can to get our first responders back on their feet and responding and conducting a proper investigation and ensure that we have the safety of this community at heart. My condolences go out to the loved ones that lost their lives and their families, and we will do the best we can to make it as easy as possible for you to get information as we know.
That's the latest statement that's coming from the police. Now, Las Vegas police have in the latest said that 50 people have died and more than 400 have been hurt after the mass shooting that took place in Las Vegas in the United States. The incident took place at the Mandalay Bay Resort. As per the latest that we have, around 22,000 concert goers were in attendance. It is one of the deadliest shootings in United States history after last year's massacre at an Orlando nightclub. We are just moments away from U.S. President Donald Trump giving out a statement on that tragic attack as well. Let's go straight across to my colleague Archit Chaudhary, who is getting us more on this. Archit, break down for our viewers what we know and don't know at the moment regarding this incident.
Yeah, Molly, right now, here's the information that we do know. We do know that 50 people at least have died in this tragic shooting, one of the worst shootings in U.S. history. The number of injured right now stands at 406. It could go up. Unfortunately, all of this coming on a Sunday Sunday night. It happened around 10 o'clock local time, just outside of the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel. Around 22,000 people were attending a concert, a country music festival, when police say this man, the 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, opened fire from the 32nd floor from that hotel. The big question is, the unknowns at this point is, how was he able to get that many guns into the room? I mean, these hotels have a lot of security, a lot of cameras. How was he able to get that many guns and weapons into the hotel room? How was he able to get to the balcony or the window? Many of them are typically closed or locked because they don't want people to jump off to prevent suicide. So still a lot of unanswered pieces of the puzzle. We're also learning at this hour that perhaps terror groups like ISIS claiming responsibility. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that ISIS had any role to do with it. Typically in situations like this, they jump in and they talk about saying that they are involved. But of course, right now police are saying this man, 64-year-old, the suspect, is a lone wolf attacker. They're also questioning his roommate with regards to what happened. At this point, she is in police custody being questioned. They've also found the two vehicles. We do know that right now that one of the an off-duty police officer is among the dead who was found there. He was visiting apparently from another state. At this point, police are not releasing any of the information on the victims just yet. Of course, we'll have to let family know, the next of kin, before any of that information is available. And U.S. President Donald Trump, it is still early hours, has offered condolences, but at this point still not calling this a terror attack. And just to draw similarities, when there have been other situations around the world, has been quick to jump in, specifically in the United Kingdom, when there were a slew of terror attacks in London and Manchester. He talked about that, but on his own soil, on his own ground, he hasn't called it a terror attack just yet. So we'll have to wait and see how all of this unfolds in the coming hours there in the United States. Absolutely.
Stay with me, Archit. We are just moments away from U.S. President Donald Trump addressing the media on that attack as well. Let's also give a listen in to Jogender Tuteja, an Indian tourist there in Las Vegas, who we spoke to just a short while back.
Yeah, it was pretty nervous at that time. People were running, and at that point in time, thankfully, we did not hear any gunshots at that point in time. But as I said, that since we were escorted back into the lobby on the back side of the hotel, so that made us feel really safe. But yeah, those 2 to 3 minutes when we were still trying to make our way back from the strip into the lobby, it was pretty nervous. The traffic had come to a standstill. There were no cars in the running at that point in time. I believe the police had escorted the entire area. But at that point in time, there were people definitely running on the street. In fact, right in front of us, there was a hotel. I'm unable to recollect the name. It was Bellagio or something. But police had come and escorted that area also. At that point in time, there were immediately, in about 10 minutes from then, there were choppers in the sky too. And the security out there was instructed not to let any people either come out of the malls or the shopping estates or step back in. As a matter of fact, even when we stepped back into our hotel, there was some frisking that happened, which is actually a good thing because that was for our security itself.
That was an eyewitness account. We have been speaking to multiple reactions that we have been getting in across the board from Las Vegas, also talking to some eyewitnesses who have narrated the entire sequence of events, what they exactly heard and saw when the incident took place. Archit, we, of course, at the moment do not have a motive that's been established. The police are, of course, extremely tight-lipped with regard to a lot of those details since the investigations are still underway. It's too early to really comment on what really happened, but we do expect the U.S. president to actually give out some clarity on what's really going on.
Absolutely. Molly, that's the big question of this hour, to find out what the reason was behind this mass shooting. Again, the death toll now standing at 50, the worst mass shootings, at least one of the worst in U.S. history. Of course, another one like this last year happening at that Orlando nightclub, the Pulse nightclub, last year in June, where 49 people were gunned down. And this really brings about the issue of gun control in the United States, something that Donald Trump will have to address now, given this situation happening in Las Vegas and many other countries around the world, the United Kingdom and Australia, drastically changing their gun control laws. But in the United States, this debate has gone gone back and forth because many people say it's not guns that kill people, it's people who are responsible for other people's deaths. And of course, the motive behind this shooting still unknown at this point. Right now, police are still treating this as a lone wolf attack, but sadly, they've seen a slew of shootings in recent U.S. history. Sandy Hook Elementary, the Aurora, Colorado shootings, the Columbine school shootings, the University of Virginia, just many mass shootings taking place, something that unfortunately the media knows how to cover and police are prepared. But the big question is why and what is going to be done to prevent further mass shootings.
Right, stay with me, Archit, as we are getting in the latest reactions and, of course, the latest inputs that have been coming in on this story. Just a reminder to our viewers, the U.S. President Donald Trump will be giving out a statement on the Las Vegas incident in just a short while from now. Las Vegas police saying at least 50 people have died and more than 400 have been injured after the mass shooting in the United States. This took place on Sunday night at the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel during a country music festival where around 22,000 concert goers were in attendance. This is one of the deadliest shootings in United States history after last year's massacre at an Orlando nightclub. Investigators are not calling this a terror attack as of now. U.S. President Donald Trump had earlier tweeted expressing his grief over the killing, sending out condolences. I'm quoting here, "My warmest condolences and sympathies to the victims and families of the terrible Las Vegas shooting. God bless you," unquote. Let's go straight across to also our senior correspondent, Ramesh Ramachandran, who's joining us on the broadcast. Ramesh, we are just minutes away from U.S. President Donald Trump giving out that statement on the Las Vegas attack. But Ramesh, this incident once again brings to the forefront the entire debate over gun laws, a stand that the government has taken as well, coming under harsh criticism, or rather the stand that the government has not taken on the issue.
Absolutely, Molly. We are just moments away from President Trump's speech on talking about the Las Vegas attack and its implications going forward. It was to be made at 14:30 GMT or at about 8 p.m. India time. We are standing by for that address by President Trump. But as you mentioned, Molly, indeed this Las Vegas attack is the deadliest in American history, and it raises two questions. The need to revisit the U.S. gun laws, which the right to bear arms is enshrined under the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and that could and should be visited or revisited according to many people in the U.S. and around the world. The second is of mental health screening to prevent such incidents going forward, and that is another issue which has been debated in the U.S. for many months now, especially in light of last year's Orlando shootings, which claimed about 49 lives. So this Las Vegas attack has also raised more questions than it answers. And as we speak, as we stand by for President Trump's address there, as I mentioned, the motive of the attacker is still not known. How he managed to sneak in those automatic weapons into the hotel is not immediately known either. We don't yet know the identities of the victims, the 50-odd people, at least 50, who are believed and reported to have been killed in the shooting. And also, as you mentioned, the reluctance on the part of the police authorities to describe this as a terror attack. That has also raised eyebrows around the world.
Right, Ramesh, as we have been getting in reactions as well, people who've narrated the entire sequence of events. If you can also help our viewers understand what we know so far about the suspect in this case.
Well, what we know so far, Molly, is that the suspect is a white American male, 64 years of age, and he had a female companion with him at the time of the incident in the hotel. And this lady companion has been identified as one Mary Lou Danley. She is an Australian national and was with him in the hotel at the time of the incident. And according to the police authorities, Stephen Paddock, who was identified as a suspect, began shooting from an automatic weapon from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel in Las Vegas, and shooting indiscriminately, killing at least 50 people and injuring more than 200 in what has been described as the deadliest mass shooting in American history.
Right, Ramesh, stay with me as we continuously get in further updates on that incident. And also, we are just minutes away from U.S. President Donald Trump addressing the media on that incident, as we've been reminding our viewers about this is an attack which has left 50 people dead. More than 400 have been injured after that mass shooting in the United States, one of the deadliest. This happened on Sunday night at the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel during a country music festival where around 22,000 concert goers were in attendance. This is one of the deadliest shootings in U.S. history after last year's massacre at an Orlando nightclub. Investigators are not calling this a terror attack as of now. U.S. President Donald Trump had earlier tweeted expressing his grief over the killing. And I'm quoting here, "My warmest condolences and sympathies to the victims and families of the terrible Las Vegas shooting. God bless you," unquote. Now, as per the latest that's come in, the police on Sunday night had taken the suspect who is a 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, who fired shots from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort Hotel. Paddock opened fire and hurt hundreds of others at the country music festival before police shot and killed him. Thousands of people panicked and fled the scene, in some cases trampling others, as there was a major panic that followed those developments as they tried to escape the entire chaos. Witnesses saying hundreds of shots rang out and it sounded like fireworks. Police are still trying to figure out the motive in the deadly shooting and trying to piece together the sequence of events. We've also gotten multiple reactions from eyewitnesses on the ground who've narrated the panic and chaos that followed. Police at the moment not connecting the incident with any militant group. Police also maintaining that they have found numerous firearms in the room of the suspect and say that he is from Las Vegas. Authorities believe that Paddock's roommate, Marilu Danley, is also, in fact, as per the latest that's come in, is also being questioned. The police also located 2 cars that belonged to the suspect. Let's go back across to my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran, who is still with us, getting us the very latest as we break down the developments and what we know and don't know so far, Ramesh, as far as this deadly attack is concerned. Speaking a little bit more about Paddock's roommate as well, who is being questioned. What do we know so far about that?
Well, there's some more information trickling in the last few minutes or so, Molly. One is that, according to reports, the suspect, Stephen Paddock, checked into the hotel on Thursday last, that is the 28th of September. And in the last few minutes, we've again received information from the Amaq news agency of the so-called Islamic State, and which says that the Islamic State is claiming responsibility for the Las Vegas attack and that Stephen Paddock had converted to Islam some time ago. We don't know any more details just yet, so we have to go take the report at its face value for now and wait for confirmation, more details to trickle in. But at the moment, as things stand, we still don't know the motive of the attack, why Stephen Paddock chose to fire indiscriminately at passers-by and revelers in the Las Vegas Resort Hotel last night at about 10 p.m. local time, and how he ferried or carried the weapons into the hotel. And also, very little is known about his companion, which you were referring to, Molly, the lady named Marilu Danley, who is of Australian nationality and was with Stephen Paddock at the time of the incident. So a lot of questions remain unanswered. It remains to be seen how the local authorities, the law enforcement authorities, piece together the attack in the lead up to the attack and also afterwards. Absolutely,
Ramesh. As we continue to track the latest that's come in, also speaking a little bit about how this was a concert, where about 22,000 people were in attendance. Soft targets like these, Ramesh, that we have been discussing time and again, unfortunately becoming the target of such attacks. Of course, at this point, we do not know the motive behind the attack.
Indeed, and Molly, this is in fact what we can say and safely infer from recent terror attacks is that no country is immune from the vagaries of terrorism, especially the terrorism that one is seeing happen on mainland Europe, in cities such as France, London most recently, or Brussels, or in Germany, in Munich, in Berlin. and now we're seeing it happen in the US. And like last year, remember, Molly, there was an incident in Orlando where 49 people were killed, and this is reminiscent of that attack and many others around the world. So, like I said, we still don't get a fix about why this incident happened in the first place, what prompted Stephen Paddock to fire indiscriminately, killing nearly 50 people, 50 innocent lives lost in that incident, and more than 406 reported injured in the attack. So the police are trying to piece together the evidence, what little they have at the moment. But what we're given to understand is that they are on the job, and that more
right. Requested to just hold that thought there, Ramesh. U.S. President Donald Trump has arrived to give out that statement on the Las Vegas attack. Let's take a listen in.
We are joined together today in sadness, shock, and grief. Last night, a gunman opened fire on a large crowd at a country music concert in Las Vegas, Nevada. He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are working closely with local authorities to assist with the investigation, and they will provide updates as to the investigation and how it develops. I want to thank the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and all of the first responders for their courageous efforts and for helping to save the lives of so many. The speed with which they acted is miraculous and prevented further loss of life. To have found the shooter so quickly after the first shots were fired is something for which we will always be thankful and grateful. It shows what true professionalism is all about. Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss. To the families of the victims, we are praying for you, and we are here for you. And we ask God to help see you through this very dark period. Teaches us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. We seek comfort in those words, for we know that God lives in the hearts of those who grieve. To the wounded who are now recovering in hospitals, we are praying for your full and speedy recovery and pledge to you our support from this day forward. In memory of the fallen, I have directed that our great flag be flown at half-staff. I will be visiting Las Vegas on Wednesday to meet with law enforcement, first responders, and the families of the victims. In moments of tragedy and horror, America comes together as one, and it always has. We call upon the bonds that unite us, our faith, our family, and our shared values. We call upon the bonds of citizenship, the ties of community, and the comfort of our common humanity. Our unity cannot be shattered by evil. Our bonds cannot be broken by violence. And though we feel such great anger at the senseless murder of our fellow citizens, it is our love that defines us today and always will, forever. In times such as these, I know we are searching for some kind of meaning in the chaos, some kind of light in the darkness. The answers do not come easy. But we can take solace knowing that even the darkest space can be brightened by a single light, and even the most terrible despair can be illuminated by a single ray of hope. Melania and I are praying for every American who has been hurt, wounded, or lost the ones they love so dearly in this terrible, terrible attack. We pray for the entire nation to find unity and peace, and we pray for the day when evil is banished and the innocent are safe from hatred and from fear. May God bless the souls of the lives that are lost. May God give us the grace of healing, and may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you.
President, would you like to travel to Puerto Rico?
U.S. President Donald Trump addressing the nation there on that Las Vegas shooting, which has left over 50 people killed, calling this an attack of pure evil, sending out the strongest condolences, the warmest condolences after the Las Vegas shooting. Let's go back across to my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran, who's still with us. A rather emotional message coming in from the U.S. President, Ramesh. Also speaking of how this is one of the deadliest shooting incidents that United States has grappled with, and also sending out a strong message of condolence to those affected.
Right, Molly. I am actually struck by President Trump's choice of words. He described the suspect, the dead suspect now, as gunman. He described the act as an act of pure evil. What is conspicuous by its absence is the word or the words terror, terrorist, or terrorism. And that, to my mind, is significant, and it indicates, to my mind, a reluctance on the part of the Trump administration to call a spade a spade. And this coming from a president who, not so long ago, when the London attack took place, described it as the suspect there as a loser terrorist. He chose deliberately to use the word terrorist, but in this case, we are seeing him exercise restraint and not describe it as an act of terror just yet. He's chosen to describe it as an act of pure evil. He went on to invoke faith, religion, Christianity, the Lord, invoked the God, and had a message of warmth and hope for the families of the victims. And he also mentioned that he would visit Las Vegas the day after tomorrow, that's the 4th of October, to visit the police authorities and also get a sense of the situation obtaining in that city. So on balance, Molly, like I said, I'm struck by his choice of words and why he's reluctant to call this act an act of terrorism.
Right, a remarkable shift also in the tone and tenor of the U.S. president while addressing the nation, Ramesh. That's something that needs to be highlighted as well.
Indeed. Now, the fact is that President Trump did take his own time to first tweet about the attack. Remember, the attack took place at about 10 p.m. local time, and he tweeted just more than a couple of hours ago. And we have just finished hearing him address the nation and speak about how he feels sadness, he feels a sense of shock and grief at the horrific the attack that has claimed more than 50 lives and injured more than 400. So there are so many questions that remain unanswered, Molly, like what was the motive for Stephen Paddock, who has since been identified as a possible suspect, how he managed to ferry those arms, automatic weapons into the hotel. We don't know for a fact whether there's any credibility in the so-called Islamic State claiming responsibility for the Las Vegas attack. So clearly, a lot of questions that remain unanswered still.
Absolutely. We're going to leave it there for the moment, Ramesh, completely running out of time. But that, of course, remains our top focus here on WION.